Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I have a quick mail day. It's a pretty epic one, so I just want to get right into it with some vintage cards first. So, um, here is a Steve Largent rookie card from Oklahoma. He's from Tulsa, so he was an Oklahoma congressman, so pretty cool from a Oklahoma perspective. and Eckersley from '78. I'm trying to put together more '78s. I don't have a lot of late '70s cards, so grabbed an Eckersley. It was very cheap, so that was fun to pick up. Now move on to my major pickups, which were mostly Griffey cards. I'm going to start with the big one. That way, if you don't have to watch the whole video if you don't want to. This is the big one. So I picked this up recently. This is the Allegiance 2000 Topps Chrome. These are numbered to 100. There you go. This is number 92 of 100. Yeah, these are really tough, and Griffey Chrome cards numbered, or refractor cards numbered to 100 or below, have blown up in value. Now, will they correct? They could. There's not a lot of them out there. The Griffey market is really strong right now. I'm going to do a little price update on Griffey pretty soon because it's just, the market's really crazy right now. But it's a few collectors really spending a lot right now, in my opinion. And once they get some of their cards and their collection, maybe the prices go down a little bit. But Griffey prices, in some cases, are all-time high. So in this market where everyone's saying everything is really low, cards like this have set new highs consistently. So this market for Griffey is definitely really strong. So there you go. Allegiance Topps Chrome, 2000 Topps Chrome. A beautiful, beautiful card. One of the big pickups I got for this year. So obviously, this is definitely one of my best pickups of the year. And it's going to go right to PSA. It's in my little PSA submission pile. So here's my submission pile for PSA. The Allegiance, the Established Thomas, the Crusade Thomas, the 96 Topps Chrome, Griffey, the Griffey Crusade, and then the Artist Proof. So those are going to be what I send to PSA next, my next order. So moving on, here is a pretty rare insert, this Night and Day. It looks like almost like a Sportflix type card. It's hard to capture in the light. It's a pretty cool card. It's super rare. I believe it's like a 1 in 300 packs or something like that from 97 Fleer. It's just one of those really, it doesn't have a lot of people who collect it because it's just a kind of a dull insert. If it was shiny or it had some other like 3D effect going with it, I think people would like it a lot more, but it unfortunately doesn't. So it's not one of those super in demand Griffey cards, but it's a very, very cool card. So I'm glad I grabbed that one because it's pretty hard to find. Next up is the Finest. I believe this is from 98 Finest. These are like the mystery refractors. And so these are double-sided, so you could get two players. And so there's Griffey on this side, and this side's Frank Thomas. So there's a double whammy for me. So eventually I'd like to send this in to PSA just because it's such a cool card to have a double-sided refractor with Griffey and Thomas. And even though it's not a super expensive card, I thought it was pretty cool to grab that card and have it in my collection. Next up is another really rare card from Flair Tradition. I believe this is 98. Yep, 98. And this was like the 1 in like 288, or a really tough pull. Flair Tradition. This is the Diamond Tribute. And so everyone who collects these Griffey cards, on Diamond Tribute cards, are tough. These are like kind of built off of, like, they put a base card and glued this card on top of it. So you see some chipping. If you read about these cards, they're always chipped, so you can never get PSA 10s on these cards. For the most part, I might get this one graded because it's pretty good otherwise. So if it gets a 9, it's still worth it. But a really tough insert from Griffey, not really common. You see it very often, and not too expensive. So again, rare, pretty cool looking, and cheap is getting tougher and tougher to find for Ken Griffey Jr. So that's why I grabbed it. Next up is a Far and Away. So if this is Pinnacle Express. I just liked how it looked. It was kind of almost an embossed looking card. Again, Pinnacle Express. I think these are the set that had the pins in it. So kind of a weird set. Never got a lot of popularity with those pins, but this is a pretty cool insert. Not too rare, but it's just nice looking insert. Next up is a card I really like. And it's not the rarest version of this card, but when I look at refractors, um, this Donner's collection, these prize collection cards are basically their version of refractors, are super nice. And in fact, I think a lot of people have stated for these cards, especially some of the rare cards, that they're almost nicer and harder to get than regular refractors from this time period. So these cards have really started to go up in value from where they were, because they were worth almost nothing to some extent. I won't say nothing, but they were just kind of an afterthought in the Griffey pantheon of cards. Now that people realize just how beautiful the cards are, and look how nice they shine, the multicolors. And again, to a lot of people, these cards are almost as nice or nicer than Griffey with that embossed background. You can see the collection name there. It's just a really nice card. So they've gone up in value. You can see the back now. They're not double-sided, unfortunately, like some of the cooler refractors are. But, just finding these wax boxes is impossible, and getting these cards is getting to be impossible as well. Just to find them in the raw and the wild anymore. These cards kind of just slipped into people's, dollar bins sometimes, or, maybe not Griffey, but, $5, $10, for these cards. And now people are really hoarding them a little bit. And so I was glad to get that one at a pretty reasonable rate. Last but not least, for the sports card side of it, the showcase, Frank Thomas, a PSA 10 Griffey just sold for a pretty good penny. Here's a 9 Frank Thomas. I believe I have a Griffey raw of this card. I need to look. But either way, I would like to get a Griffey graded a 9 as well. I don't want a 10 because I just don't want to pay $1,000 for it, which is, I think, what the last one brought, which is crazy. This Frank Thomas card is a much cheaper version of that card. Obviously, all Frank Thomas cards are much cheaper than Griffey. But I was glad to get this super cool die cut. Again, Showcase had some of the better, the Hot Glove cards are really, really amazing. Just a lot of nice cards came out of Showcase, including the base cards and the number cards out of Showcase. Just the actual short prints in the regular set are super nice and command a lot of value. So great set, a lot of value. Inserts are amazing. So they hit out of the ballpark. It's really sad that, Fleer and Flare, as brands went away, because a lot of creativity went away with them when they went bankrupt. And Upper Deck has not utilized a tenth of the designs that were beautiful back in the day, because they're expensive to do and probably the technology doesn't exist anymore. So they don't do them anymore. But cards like this are tributes to how creative the 90s were and how beautiful some of these cards are. We'll probably never see cards like this again to some extent, unless someone gets, some creativity and wants to actually make cards, beautiful again. The last two cards are just two cards I picked up. One is an insert from the Batman Master Series. So here is a Master Villain Poison Ivy card. Not my favorite art. I mean, very pinched face, Poison Ivy there. Almost like a Campbell drawer. For people who don't know, I'm not a huge fan of Campbell to some extent in comic book art, just because he does the same faces on all his characters or his women. And I call the pinched face small nose face. And after seeing it so many times, I'm not as big a fan of it as when I was younger. He has not evolved at all. I think Adam Hughes is a much better artist, and there's Art Germ and so many more cool artists now. Then Campbell gets a little bit too much credit, in my opinion, for his cool variants. But that's just a sidebar there in my distaste for Campbell, as I've gotten older. But this card is just an insert. It's cool. It's a Poison Ivy. I'm collecting Poison Ivy. And there you go. And last but not least, I picked up this, I thought, at a pretty good reasonable price from this year's Spider-Man Metal. It's the Platinum Portrait Shocker. And again, I call it like a B team villain, not the number one villain. It's not a Goblin, not a Venom, not a Carnage. But here's my deal on this. I'm going to be perusing eBay for the next couple years looking for Platinum Portraits, either from X-Men Metal or from this set, because these were the hardest to get inserts in the whole product. And I think as time goes on, The green PMGs and those cards are going to be the big winners. The reds and those other cards are printed to such extent that I don't think they're going to just be massive inserts. You know, they'll cool off and they'll kind of go down, and there's enough supply of those cards to satisfy a lot of demand. I think the platinum portraits and the greens are the two inserts that won't do that. You know, maybe some of the other raves and stuff that are numbered low number, but just those cards in general are classic designs, you know, and the platinum portrait is based on a classic design. I think they're going to keep going up. And so I'm going to keep looking for cheap ones whenever I can find them. So that's a mail day, guys. A quick little mail day showing off some of my pickups. And I had an awesome Griffey card. Obviously, you know, something I'm going to send a PSA pretty soon. Super excited. And I've got another big Griffey card coming in. Maybe the last one of the year. Who knows? But it does kind of almost complete a set. So there we go. I'll see you next time. When I get that card in, I'll do an update. I'll do another mail day. But hope you guys had a great day, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.